Do you ever feel like luck is near but just out of reach? Like you're one step away from a breakthrough, but something invisible keeps holding you back? Here's the truth. Luck isn't random. It's alignment. And this, Tuesday, May 24th, 2025, is more than a date on the calendar. It's a spiritual window, one where 6 powerful numbers rooted in ancient Buddhist wisdom align with universal energy to unlock inner abundance. But don't mistake this for gambling advice. This is about reclaiming your power from the inside out. Each number we'll explore today carries a message not just about money, but about mindset healing and clarity. If you've been feeling stuck, unfocused, or unsure what's next, this video will help you reset your direction. Before we begin, like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another chance to grow. And here's your first step toward abundance. Comment below, "I welcome growth and harmony into my life." Just by typing those words, you're planting a powerful seed and setting the tone for transformation. Let's dive in and discover what May 24th has in store for your journey. Part 1, 28. The silent builder of wealth. Not every path to abundance is loud. Some grow slowly in quiet corners, nurtured by patience rather than publicity. And that's exactly the spirit of the number 28. Let me tell you about Emma, a soft-spoken woman in her mid-40s, who ran a little cafe tucked away on a side street in a small coastal town. She didn't have flashy signage or clever marketing tricks. There were no influencers tagging her pastries and no paid ads flooding social media. But she had something else: devotion. Every morning she arrived before dawn to prepare everything from scratch, kneading dough by hand, steeping herbs with care, remembering the favorite drinks of her regulars. She listened to their stories. She smiled when no one else did. Over the years, her cafe became a sanctuary. People came not just for coffee, but for the feeling of being seen. One day, a traveling blogger stumbled in and wrote a heartfelt post about Emma's cafe. It went viral. Within weeks, lines stretched around the block. But here's the thing, Emma's success didn't begin with that blog post. It began years earlier in the quiet consistency of care. That's the hidden truth behind number 28. Breaking down 2 and 8. The number 2 speaks of relationships, emotional intelligence, and harmony. It's the number of cooperation and presence, of knowing how to walk beside others, not ahead of them. The number 8, on the other hand, is the energy of karma. What you plant, you will harvest. It symbolizes material and spiritual abundance earned, not inherited. Together they form 28, a number that whispers, not shouts. It tells us that real prosperity is built through connection and consistency. You don't chase wealth, you grow it. The Buddhist lens. In Buddhism, the law of karma reminds us that every small action ripples into the universe. Just as Emma's daily intentions compounded into a ripple of goodwill, our own lives are shaped not by moments of grandeur, but by the habits we repeat quietly. There's a Zen saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." It's not about glory, it's about rhythm, devotion, showing up again and again, even when no one claps. We live in a world obsessed with quick wins, viral hits, and instant gratification. But 28 invites us back to a slower rhythm, one rooted in trust, discipline, and emotional connection. True wealth isn't rushed, it's cultivated. It's what happens when no one's watching, and you still give your best. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, honestly, where in my life am I being asked to stay the course, even when no one's watching? Is it a creative project that hasn't paid off yet? A relationship you're nurturing without expecting recognition? Or perhaps your own healing journey, silent, slow, but sacred, whatever it is. Number 28 reminds you, keep going. The seeds you've planted in love are growing, even if you can't see them yet. Part 2. Number 18. Let go to grow. Sometimes the most powerful move we can make isn't pushing harder or holding tighter. It's simply letting go. That's the energy of number 18, a quiet but firm whisper from the universe. You don't have to carry all of that anymore. Linda was a woman many admired, strong, dependable, and always the one others leaned on. But inside she was crumbling. For over 12 years, she stayed in a relationship that had long since stopped being nurturing. It wasn't abusive, but it was empty, a silent kind of suffering. She convinced herself to stay. I've already given so much, she told herself. I can't walk away now. But one morning while folding laundry, she heard a podcast where someone said, letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It stopped her in her tracks. For years, Linda had confused endurance with strength. But that day, she realized the pain of staying had grown heavier than the fear of leaving. And so, with trembling hands but a clear heart, she chose to walk away. Not in anger, but in peace. Her world didn't collapse, it expanded. Her decision didn't erase the past, but it opened the future. The meaning behind 1 and 8. Number 1 is about individual responsibility, the ability to take charge of your own peace. Number 8 symbolizes karmic alignment, the results of past choices, and the flow of energy that follows. Together, 18 asks, are you ready to take responsibility for what you hold and what you're ready to release? In Buddhist teaching, clinging is the root of suffering. As the Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. Let that sink in. The spiritual wisdom of release. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean forgetting or pretending something didn't matter. It means making peace with what was, so you can make room for what can be. In Buddhism, this act of release is considered a liberation, a conscious movement from tension to flow. Like a lotus that rises from the mud you bloom by releasing what keeps you stuck. What mud are you still rooted in? Is it an old story you've told yourself too many times? A version of success that no longer fits your soul? A past mistake you keep punishing yourself for? 18 invites you to loosen your grip. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to grow. Take a moment to pause, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer helps me grow? Write it down. Speak it out loud. Acknowledge it with compassion. Because awareness is the first step toward liberation. Repeat with intention. I release what no longer serves me and make space for peace. You are not here to carry everything forever. You are here to transform, to rise to flow. And number 18, gentle and bold, offers you that choice. Let go, not in defeat, but in faith. Part 3, number 10, the sacred threshold of new beginnings. Sometimes the most powerful chapter of your life begins with a quiet closing. That's what the number 10 symbolizes, a moment of sacred transition. A gentle doorway where something ends not because it failed, but because you've grown beyond it. Sarah had poured 6 years into building a wellness business. It was her passion project, one that had helped hundreds of people. But lately, the spark was gone. The joy had been replaced with exhaustion, the clarity with confusion. Still, she clung to it. After all, it was her identity, her success story. Until one day, while journaling at sunrise, a phrase came to her like a whisper from within. This season is complete. It startled her, but deep down she knew it was true. Within a month, she gracefully stepped away from the business, and in doing so, opened the door to something she never expected, a new calling in teaching, which brought her more fulfillment than she'd ever imagined. She didn't lose her purpose. She realigned it. The meaning of 1 and 0. 1 is the number of beginnings, fresh energy, new ideas, taking initiative. Is the number of wholeness, spiritual space, and infinite possibility. Together, 10 isn't just about change, it's about intentional evolution. It represents the sacred pause between what was and what's coming next. In Buddhist thought, impermanence is a fundamental truth. Everything changes. And when we resist, that we suffer. But when we welcome endings with grace, we transform. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Wisdom from the Dharma endings are not failures, they're invitations. In Buddhism, this is the moment of transition, the in-between space where clarity is born. It's where we let go of what no longer serves, while softly making room for what wants to emerge. You don't need to rush into the new. You just need to honor that a cycle is complete. Reflection. Question. What part of my life is asking to end with love? It could be a habit, a role, a relationship, or even a belief you've outgrown. Let yourself answer honestly, without judgment, with compassion, because just like the sun sets before it rises again, your next chapter often waits just beyond your willingness to release the last. Say this out loud or write it down. I honor what has ended and I trust what is beginning. There is sacredness in closure, peace in acceptance, power in stepping through the doorway of change with grace instead of fear. The energy of 10 is a gift. It doesn't demand fireworks. It simply asks, are you ready to bless what's behind you and begin quietly with intention? Because often the next beautiful thing won't appear until you lovingly say goodbye to the last. Part 4, number 3, the creative rebirth. After every ending, something stirs. A whisper, a flicker, a call back to life, not to survival, but to expression. That is the quiet power of number 3. Where number 10 marks the closing of one chapter, 3 represents the return of color, courage, and creativity. It's the breath of fresh air after grief, the laughter after silence, the canvas after the storm. Thomas had always been a talented artist. In his early 20s, he filled journals with sketches, painted vibrant cityscapes, and taught calligraphy to children. But life got loud. He took a steady job in finance, traded his brush for spreadsheets, and told himself he'd get back to art someday. Decades passed. Someday never came. Then one weekend, cleaning out his attic, Thomas found his old sketchbooks. Something stirred. He didn't plan it, he just sat down with a pen and drew. One line became 2. One evening turned into weeks of late-night painting. He didn't do it for money, or fame, or Instagram. He did it because it made him feel alive again. The meaning of number 3, in numerology and spiritual teachings, 3 is the number of expression, joy, and alignment. It reflects the harmony of mind, body, and spirit, when we feel connected, clear, and fully present. In Buddhist philosophy, this mirrors the threefold training: right thought, right speech, right action. These aren't rules. They're a roadmap back to inner congruence. When we live in alignment with who we really are, our energy flows. Our joy returns. Buddhist insight. Joy as a practice. Joy isn't just an emotion. It's a spiritual responsibility. So many of us silence ourselves to fit in, to be responsible, to stay safe. We push down our creative impulses and call it maturity. But Buddhism reminds us that to live fully, we must also allow space for spontaneity, color, and self-expression. Because when we suppress joy, we dim our own light. And when we express truthfully, without the need for applause, we awaken something sacred within us. Take a pause and ask yourself, where have I silenced my joy? Is there a passion you've buried for the sake of being practical? A voice you've muted out of fear? A dream you've delayed because life got busy? What if it's time to give that part of you permission to speak again? Repeat this aloud: I choose playful courage and sacred balance. Let this be your quiet revolution, to laugh without apology, to create without permission, and to live without needing approval. Because true prosperity doesn't come from performance, it comes from presence. Number 3 doesn't need to shout to be heard. It just needs space to breathe. Whether it's picking up a forgotten hobby, dancing in your kitchen, or speaking your truth in a gentle tone, this is your rebirth moment. Joy is not childish. It is sacred. And when you express who you really are, you don't just feel lucky, you feel alive. Part 5, number 37, the path of awakening. Some numbers don't just represent luck, they represent a calling, and 37 is one of them. This number isn't about winning quickly. It's about waking up slowly, layer by layer from the trance of routine pressure and emotional autopilot. If you've ever had that moment where everything looks fine on the outside, but something inside quietly aches for more, then 37 is speaking to you. Jack was successful by every metric society uses. He was in his 50s, he ran a profitable business, had a family, and lived in a beautiful home. But one morning, sitting in his parked car before a meeting, he felt nothing. Not sadness, not stress, just a hollow fog in his chest. He later said, "I wasn't unhappy. I was unawake." That week, he came across a podcast episode discussing the 37 factors of enlightenment from Buddhist teachings. He didn't understand them fully, but something about the phrase, awakening through awareness, stuck. So Jack did something small. Each morning, he sat quietly for 10 minutes before the rest of the world woke up. No phone, no goals, just breath. Over time, something softened. The numbness began to lift. His business didn't change overnight. His life didn't suddenly sparkle. But he changed. He began to respond instead of react, to feel joy in simple things. He was no longer performing life, he was living it. The meaning of 3 and 7-3, as we've seen, is about creativity, mind, body, spirit alignment. 7 is the number of inner wisdom, spiritual insight, and deep reflection. Together they form 37, a number that doesn't just point to spiritual potential. It maps the way there. In Buddhism, the 37 factors of enlightenment are a guide toward liberation. They include practices like mindfulness, energy, joy, concentration, equanimity. But you don't need to memorize all 37. You only need to start with one. Buddhist wisdom. Awakening is a practice. Buddhist masters often describe awakening not as a destination, but as a return to simplicity, to stillness, to the moment at hand. We are not awakened once and for all. We awaken again and again every time we pause, breathe, and choose presence over performance. And 37 reminds us, you don't have to change your entire life overnight. You just need to wake up to the life you already have. A deeper look within. We live in a world that rewards speed, that glorifies doing. But the path of 37 asks something radical. What would it mean to slow down and feel again? To feel joy, not just in achievement, but in sunlight. To feel peace not only when goals are met, but in the pause between actions. To feel alive not just when you succeed, but when you simply are. Reflection. Question. What part of me have I put to sleep just to get through the day? Is it your creativity, your sense of wonder, your connection to spirit? Ask gently. Answer truthfully, because the most dangerous kind of sleep is the one where you appear awake, but feel nothing. Affirmation. I choose presence over performance. I awaken one breath at a time. Say it softly. Let it land in your body. This is not about fixing yourself. It's about returning to yourself. Number 37 doesn't promise shortcuts or jackpots. It offers something more sacred. The freedom of feeling again. The gift of being fully here. The quiet miracle of spiritual alignment. And if that speaks to you today, then perhaps without even realizing it, you've already begun to awaken. Part 6, number 34, progress over perfection. Have you ever delayed starting something important because you were waiting for the perfect moment? I'll begin when I feel more confident. I'll act when things settle down. I'll speak up when I'm sure I won't mess it up. Sound familiar? This is where number 34 comes in, not as a flashy symbol of instant success, but as a quiet, powerful reminder. Start now imperfectly. Start now as you are. Johnson was bright and full of potential. A recent graduate with big dreams of launching a podcast that explored mental health and spirituality in everyday life. He had the equipment. He had the ideas. But months went by and he hadn't recorded a single episode. Why? Because he was waiting to feel ready. He told himself he needed a better mic, a more polished intro, a clearer voice. What finally pushed him forward wasn't confidence. It was exhaustion. He realized the perfect moment wasn't coming, so he sat down, hit record, and just spoke. That episode wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it reached more people than he ever imagined. Today, Johnson has over 100 episodes. Still not perfect, but deeply impactful. His breakthrough came not from mastery, but from movement, the meaning behind 3 and 4. 3 symbolizes expression, creativity, and emotional flow. 4 represents stability, structure, and grounded action. Together they create 34, the energy of imperfect movement with conscious intention. It's the sacred blend of play and persistence, of creating while learning, of building while growing. Buddhist insight: be here, not perfect. In Buddhism, the practice of sati, mindful awareness, teaches us that presence is far more powerful than perfection. The Buddha didn't wait for silence to meditate. He meditated in the noise. He didn't preach perfection. He taught the middle way, a path of balance, not extremes. This is the wisdom of 34. Walk the path now, even if your shoes are untied. What are you waiting for? So many dreams go unlived, not because they're impossible, but because we wait too long to begin. We tell ourselves we need more clarity, more tools, more validation. But the truth is, clarity often comes after you take the first step, not before. Number 34 invites you to move anyway, to trust that the act of showing up imperfectly is more powerful than waiting indefinitely. Reflection. Question. What's one thing I've been delaying because I don't feel ready? Is it writing your book? Starting your healing journey? Having that honest conversation? Whatever it is, ask yourself, what would it feel like to begin? Just as I am. Say this with me: I move forward with presence, not perfection. Let these words guide your day. Not as a slogan, but as permission. To take the class even if you're nervous. To start the business even if it's messy. To love even if your heart's still healing. 34 won't win you applause. It won't promise a flawless start. But it will hold your hand as you begin. It will remind you that progress, even awkward, hesitant progress, is sacred. You don't need to be fearless, just faithful. You don't need a perfect plan, just presence and a willingness to move. Because in the end, it's not perfection that changes your life. It's motion. And when you choose progress over perfection, you're not just creating momentum, you're creating freedom. Part 7. Rituals for real wealth. True wealth begins long before it shows up in your bank account. It starts in the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you give. In Buddhist tradition, wealth isn't measured by what we have, but by how we live. These 5 simple rituals are not superstitions. They are sacred, mindful acts designed to help you realign with clarity, calm, and conscious abundance. Each practice invites you to pause, go inward, and shift your energy from scarcity to sufficiency. 1. Morning Dharma check-in. What am I clinging to today? Before emails, social media, and the noise of life rushes in. Take just 5 minutes to sit with yourself. No agenda, no pressure, Just breath. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out slowly. Then journal. Even if it's just one sentence answering this question, what am I clinging to today that's no longer serving me? Emma, a school teacher from San Diego, began her days this way. For weeks, the answer was always control. Over time, she softened. She started letting go of rigid expectations, not just for her students, but for herself. Her classroom became calmer. So did her home. Let this practice be your energetic reset. By naming what holds you back, you gently begin to release it. 2. Seed planting practice. We often want results we can see, but like plants, growth begins in the dark underground, in the root stage. Here's how to practice. Light a small candle or hold a potted plant. Place both hands around it. Speak your intention aloud. Something simple like, "May my actions today grow from peace and blossom into purpose." Visualize that intention as a seed beneath the soil, hidden but alive. Take inspiration from Ken, a widower, who planted a tiny bonsai tree after his wife passed. Every morning he'd water it while whispering a prayer. 2 years later, the tree bloomed, and so had he. The candle or plant becomes your daily symbol of trust. Trust in small beginnings. Trust that your effort matters even when invisible. 3. 3-minute walking meditation. You don't need an hour-long meditation retreat to reconnect. Sometimes 3 mindful minutes is enough to bring you home. Here's how. Step away from distractions. Walk slowly, preferably outdoors or in a quiet space. With each step, silently repeat, "I walk in peace. I walk with purpose." Focus only on your feet, your breath, and the rhythm. Nina, a busy single mom of 3, started doing this between carpool runs. At first, it felt awkward, but over time she realized it was the only part of her day that felt like hers. This ritual grounds you. It reminds you that wealth isn't just money. It's calm clarity and conscious movement. 4. Evening gratitude journal. Before you sleep, reflect on the energy you circulated today. List 3 things you gave and 3 things you received. They don't need to be big. Maybe you gave your full attention during a conversation. Maybe you received a smile, a kind message, or even silence after a long day. Luca, a young barista in Berlin, practiced this every night. After a while, he noticed something shift. His job felt less like labor and more like service. He began seeing small acts of kindness as forms of wealth. This journal turns your attention from what's missing to what's flowing. And that mindset changes everything. 5. The Dana Challenge. In Buddhism, Dana means generosity, giving without expectation. This practice is simple. Do one anonymous act of giving today. A powerful example comes from Maria, a student who once donated her only $5 bill to help a stranger. 2 weeks later, she received an unexpected scholarship that covered her full tuition. Was it karma coincidence? Who knows? But what's clear is this letting go opens the flow. Say this mantra, "I give without needing. I release without fear." Dana frees you from grasping, from scarcity, from ego. And in that release, real wealth begins. By now you've heard the 6 numbers. You've explored the deeper meaning behind each one. You've practiced the rituals not for luck, but for liberation. And here's the truth that ties it all together. You were never chasing fortune. You were remembering who you are. Number 28 taught us the power of steady care. 18 reminded us to release what no longer serves. 10 gave us permission to close one chapter and start anew. 3 rekindled the spark of joy and self-expression. 37 invited us to wake up from autopilot and live with soul. And 34, it whispered that presence is better than perfection. These weren't lottery numbers. They were lighthouse number signposts to guide you back to your own power. The real wealth is not outside. It's in your awareness, your actions, your ability to show up with heart. So here's your final call. Like this video, subscribe for more Buddhist-inspired guidance, and comment below. I choose alignment over luck. I am ready to live fully. Because the jackpot you're looking for isn't at the end of a ticket. It's at the beginning of your awareness, and starting today, you're not waiting for luck anymore. You are becoming it.